Hi y'all, if you haven't noticed or are watching this video way later, this is a sort of compilation of some shorts, but I promise this is worth watching if you have the time. It's not just a compilation of all the shorts, some parts will probably have more insightful commentary than the shorts, and some probably not much, but I hope you stick around. There are some little bonus features throughout the videos, and some big ones near the end, or you can skip towards the end to see, I guess. Rude. So some background, you know Laura Faust? You probably should. She's worked on a lot of shows, but is perhaps most famous for designing and setting up the 5th generation of My Little Pony. Now, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a great show, but the initial show idea she pitched was a series called Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls. It was about Milky Way traveling and meeting anthropomorphizations of the solar system to reassemble a cage after freeing Black Hole. The show was never fully realized, but through Faust's artworks, you can sort of envision the type of show it would be. Her art and character design has such a nice charm and appeal to them. The characters I'm redesigning have already undergone design changes over time, which can be called the version 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. I have a massive bias for the 2.0 designs and art style, which is what most of my redesigns take after. And this is where I have to critique my own art. One of the biggest changes for the 3.0 was including more diverse body types, which isn't really reflected in my art. Aside from minute changes, they all sort up with the same-ish build. I can't say I'm a biggest fan of the 3.0 designs, so I pretty much exclusively looked at the 2.0 designs. The art style here was influenced by a slight emulation of the 1.0 and 2.0 eras, but I don't really think these are good excuses. This is all to say I'm aware of the shortcomings, but I hope you'll stick around with me despite that. I would like to try this art style again, but with more varieties of body shapes. I really did put a lot of work into these redesigns, so I hope y'all enjoy. Getting into it, Milky Way's time-lapse runs longer than the others since she went through a whole lot of edits. A lot of this was speed up and cut from the shorts, so you can take it all in here. This tends to happen with my videos since the first image kind of establishes the rest of how a set will look from proportions, colors, and techniques. But since I have the extra time, I'll explain the basic process for the speed paints. I started with a sketch of all the girls before I moved on to the line art and coloring. So this is just to get a good idea of all the girls together before completing any one image. Moving to Milky Way specifically, I wanted to focus on giving her a slightly more outdoorsy look, but still cute. So boom, denim jacket and skirt. She had thigh-high socks, but I couldn't figure out the colors. The hair was probably the biggest change throughout my attempts. My first thought was just a long, big, swirling ponytail with browns added in. This is because I think of coffee and lattes when I think of Milky Way. Then another character had a big ponytail, so I wanted to switch to a big braid, and that was based on an alternative outfit of Milky. And then I thought it was too boring, too many lines intersecting the body, and I switched it up again. Listen man, hairstyle is like my favorite thing to draw, so I'm gonna have fun with it and find the right style. A shooting star inspired hairstyle feels right for a character named Milky Way. I think the only completely new thing I added was the camera. Each of the girls is paired with a hobby, and Milky's thing is centered around seeing new places and meeting new people, and I thought it may be a nice hobby for her to keep taking pictures as she visits these places and makes friends. It's not a major thing, but I thought it was neat. And that about does it for Milky Way, so here's my redesign. I had mentioned some bonus features at the beginning. Part of that is I had attempted to draw these designs before, so here she is. Not really a redesign on my part aside from the hair. You can see what I mean by the browns, and I still do like that change, but I needed to figure out better proportions here. Well, bask in all her glory before she's gone, and she's gone. The sun. I don't know if I have much to say about the sun actually. Her pose changed since I thought the first one's legs were too similar to Milky Way's, so there's that. To the actual designs, well, I didn't nail down a specific aesthetic to be inspired by. Her base design is a yellow top and orange bottoms, and yup, me too. I wouldn't say her redesign is the most minimal. You'll see the most minimal redesign coming up. I tried looking at Pinterest for summer girl, sunflowers, and stuff like that, but nothing struck a chord with me. I had thought about giving her a music festival type look since singing is her thing, but most music festival looks seem to branch off more bohemian or western looks, which I don't think fits Sun's style. For all of her radiance, Sun's style is a bit more understated, so I focused on making very small modifications to her outfit, a scrunched muscle tee plus some shorts, some pretty lacing on the underside, and that was pretty much it. I added some sunspots because You know, I thought it was cute, and sunspots. Some shining gold accessories to complete the look, and that's about it. Don't need to change perfection too much, I guess. And voila, here's her sort of new look. I'm really happy with her hair. Looser curls felt right for me since it reminds me of more warm sun rays as opposed to tighter curls. And here's my first attempt. I think it was interesting to see how my art has changed, especially with the colors. It's probably just me, but attempt 1 feels so much more desaturated, but also a lot more orange. The pose is pretty much the same, just, you know, she's not floating in space now. Really stapled that foot down. Okay, now we're going into the more substantial changes with Mercury, which, funnily enough, is one of the shortest speed paints. This might be because her design went through like 3 attempts before I settled on something definitive for the video, which was basically a semi-sleek runner's outfit plus a sports bra and jacket you can't see. The posing was difficult to nail down. I wanted something more action-y posing, but I'm bad at posing. So Mercury is in a basic stretching pose, womp womp. Her original design is one of the most simple, maybe 4 or 5 colors. It's just how the planet looks, but I also think it's referencing Quicksilver, also called Mercury. I expanded my colors slightly based on the enhanced images of the planet, so there's a bit more blues and I added in yellow for contrast. And she's got some new ear cuffs, which is still her wing symbol. I wanted to expand the types of earwear for fun. Okay, now this is the part where I talk about how little there is to find about Mercury, and by that I mean Mercury has like 1 completed image of her, but there are a few sketches. But despite that, I felt like I got a really good sense of Mercury's personality, even with less material. It just goes to show how good Lauren Faust is with characterization. Hopefully mine makes her look raring to go, because she's done. Let's also give a hand for attempt 1. You can sort of imagine what the top would have looked like from this image, but I can't get over how much she looks like a bobblehead in this one. I also have this incomplete sketch of her in another pose with an outfit closer to the original, but I don't know, she looks so unbalanced in this pose, like she's gonna topple over. Venus was really fun, but also really difficult. Now, Venus's main hobby is dance, primarily ballet, so the thing to do for her is to put her in a ballerina pose with the added challenge of making it look interesting, but also squeezing her into a defined box. I think I got away with it though. Looking back at the footage, it's kind of funny to see how much of the time was taken up by drawing the hands, despite it being a smaller part of the image. Her outfit was honestly very simple to design. It's very coquette inspired, which itself was inspired by ballet imagery, but I really tried to crank up the bows, frills, and hearts. It's a very simple look still, so I don't have much to comment on. I thought about changing her colors to a more orange hue since the planet itself is more orange, but when you're doing hearts and the love colors that come up are red and pink, I did sneak a bit of orange in there though, with a more salmony pink compared to the original's more purpley pink. The last thing I want to touch on is her earrings. It's truly a minuscule part of her design and is like probably the smallest earrings, but I'm just so happy with my idea. It's an industrial piercing, but in the shape of a heart and arrow. I'm not the first one to think of this. You can definitely place an order for one of these, but I'm so happy that I thought of it. I think it's really cute and it really brings home her whole heart aesthetic and really sets her earrings apart from the other characters. But that's pretty much all I have to talk about for Venus, so here you go. And here's attempt 1. I basically nailed down her aesthetic from the start. Honestly, it's probably easier to spot what didn't change between the two. I'm more surprised that I managed to fit this pose into the canvas at all. On to the melancholic poet, the moon. Well, specifically Earth's moon. Right off the bat, you can see that I wanted a specific pose / silhouette, really trying to push for that crescent shape. Thankfully, the pose lines up pretty well with Moon's personality, and she's been drawn in a similar pose before. I really worked that dress and her flowing hair to get to the right shape. Between the 2.0 and 3.0 designs of Moon, she remained pretty similar, so I merged the things I found most striking about each, which means she's like 80% based on the 2.0 designs. She's got the same long white dress as her 2.0 iteration, just with added color and a corset piece to help separate out the colors. With that, I added a dark lining to her dress because I like a good contrasting lining, but it also references the dark side of the moon. She's also one of the few characters that has multiple colored hair. This is something found in characters like 2.0 Venus or 3.0 Saturn that I really didn't integrate with their hair, but I felt like it was needed with Moon, one, to add visual interest, and second, to help the direction of her swirling hair. Some design choices were also influenced to help her contrast with the sun. You know, despite the fact that the moon and the sun aren't necessarily opposites, we're just a bit geocentric here. We like a good complementary pair. You can pick apart what I chose as complementary, but one of the big influences was giving Moon here more moles to match with Sun's sunspots. Originally, it was just the 2 under the eye, but it was fun giving her more, so I just gave her a lot more. Plus, when I think about the moon, I'm reminded of its craters, so there's that too. But I'm running out of things to talk about, so here we go. Her eyes are a bit red here from, I don't know, crying. And here's my first attempt. It's not very different. I just didn't have the guts to go all in with her floating bullshit hair, so her pose is a bit lacking, I think. Alright, moving on. Now, if you ask me which character got the biggest downgrade in their redesigns, my first response would be Mars, and it wouldn't even be a contest. It's one of those things where removing one crucial part of the character's design changes so much of the energy of the design. Like, please, I beg, please give Mars her fluffy orange coat back. It adds so much fun, zany character energy, and without it, she feels like a school teacher or something. Not that those two ideas are separate. I'm sure Miss Frizzle has inspired many science and art teachers around the world. It's just that I think it really fits her. So that was the biggest thing I wanted from Mars. Give her the coat back. Past that, the rest of her outfit was inspired by that era of vinyl-y 1960s space age retro look and paired with one of those souvenir-esque t-shirts because I thought it was funny. I wanted her fashion to have the eclectic kitschy appeal, but it's not really a style up my alley, but I hope it's still nice to look at. There's also just how many colors Mars has on, and I'm not really one to have too many different colors, so I mostly focused on reusing the colors for new patterns or new designs. Now to my favorite part. Mars' symbol is the UFO, or you can call it a flying saucer, but the actual object takes up so little space for her earrings. It's mostly these chunky searchlights. I would love to buy these weird kitschy earrings. Yes, I'm one of those people. These and Neptune's are the two earring sets I really want, and we'll see Neptune's when we get to her. But here's my rendition of Mars. I hope you love her as much as I do. And let's bring out attempt number 1. Like the past few ones, her outfit is basically the same as this attempt. It's just this attempt has a better pose and energy to it. Alright. We made it past the asteroid belt and onto the first gas giant, Jupiter. So Jupiter is interesting because she's the only character whose design is based more on the 3.0 designs than the originals, at least with the bottom half of her design. This is because Jupiter's passion revolves around activism and environmentalism, so I thought, what if she utilizes scrap fabric to make her outfits? And I don't know if you ever sewed clothes before, but skirts are a whole lot easier to make than pants are, so that's my excuse. It was a lot of fun mashing these patterns together, but not the most yippee moment having to color the line art. Since the skirt is so busy, I try to keep the rest of her colors pretty simple. For example, the headband had the original color pattern, but 1, I didn't want to have to do the patterns again, and 2, maybe the headband was made from the remnants of her top or something. I also brought back her bindi. Not sure why it went missing in the 3.0 designs. Maybe Faust didn't want to reference the giant red spot multiple times, but I don't know. But before that, you'll notice that Jupiter also has vitiligo. Why? Because Jupiter has this giant hexagon on its pole, and I think that's neat, and I want to reference it. The vitiligo on the rest of her is loosely based on the striations of color on the actual Jupiter. Now, Jupiter also has 4 animal friends that represent each of Jupiter's major moons, but I didn't draw them. I don't want to figure out how to draw a ferret, cat, dog, and rabbit. For most of this speed paint, Jupiter has peace signs as her earring/symbol, but near the end, I just swapped them out for her original earrings since it was a cooler design and it referenced the turbulent weather on the actual Jupiter more. So she ends up looking like this as her final redesign. Now, I think I've been pretty kind to my first attempts, but there is no love in my heart for attempt number 1, Jupiter. Like, what's going on? Where is the skirt going? What is the lighting doing? I'm glad to redo all my redesign, if only to remake this one. Here's another part of the attempt where I did try to draw the animal moons, but that didn't go really far. Now let's take a trip down memory lane. Remember when I said we'll see the most minimal redesign coming up? So Saturn was who I was talking about when I said the most minimal redesign. So yeah, not very insightful commentary coming up. It's interesting because I would say that Saturn had one of the biggest design changes between her 2.0 and 3.0 designs, and I like the 3.0 designs. It's just, where did all of Saturn's rings go? Like, she doesn't need to double hula hoop all the time, but having rings was her whole thing. I don't know, maybe it's underneath her big sweater. Anyway, her design here is a near one-to-one recreation of her 2.0 design, so I'm gonna focus on the couple of things that got substantial design changes. 1. Jupiter's the other character whose symbol got changed, but I think it was a clever change. Originally Saturn had big hooped earrings, but the 3.0 designs gave her some vinyl records while still retaining that ringed element. This also ties into her passion, which is like DJing or clubbing. For my part, I just turned them into gauges. It's not a style of earrings I like, but I wanted to personalize the earrings more, as I said before. Plus, she got some extra helix earrings cause Saturn needs more rings. Second, she's got a new hairdo. Originally, I wanted to do a massive ponytail that spiraled at the end, you'll see what I mean later, but then I thought, what's better than a ponytail? Ringlets. I'm so smart and funny, y'all. But when I tell y'all I struggled so fucking much on finalizing a good hairstyle, take my word on it. Like, I was losing sleep over this. Eventually, I just settled on a design and called it good. It's kind of based on colorful festival hair. So here's the final look, and here's one where I edited out the top braids to tell myself I had made the right choice, but you can be the judge of that. And this is as far as I got on attempt 1. Let's just remove the colors and look at the sketch. Alright, done looking? Good, moving on. We're on planet number 7 and the first ice giant, Uranus. I'm just gonna say it once. Her design came along super quickly, like I knew exactly what I wanted her to be, which was a preppy number. So she's got a pinafore dress laid over, I think they're technically called leg of mutton sleeves, plus some loafers. But I like it when there's some fun little charm to a character's design. Like, I don't like it when a character is nothing but serious, at least for a series like this. So to bring some silliness to the design, I gave her this big flouncy bow and some leg warmers. I think it gives her that little bit of fun charm I wanted. And the rest of the colors came along nicely. It was mostly focusing on the blues. Honestly, the biggest struggle was remembering how the front of books is orientated. Like, I literally had to pull out a game case and physically act out opening a book. I know spatial orientations on many things, but apparently not for books. She's also the only character whose symbol I personally changed. Like, I think the apple is neat and it fits with the more studious teacher energy, but I don't think it references the planet very much. So I swapped them out for a set of diamond earrings. If you don't know, it rains diamonds on the ice giant, so Neptune's could hypothetically also be a diamond, but the shell fits her better. We'll get to her later. But that about does it for this lady, so here you go. Now I will say by this point I only have the sketches for the characters done, so y'all are going to have to use your powerful imaginations to assume what colors I might have done differently. She had different sleeves, but I didn't want to draw folding fabric again because I am weak. This sketch also feels snobbish. Like, she's a studious person, but I don't think she's meant to be snooty about it, so I'm glad I gave her a new pose. And we're moving on to her sister. Did you know that Neptune and Uranus are twins? From looking at the character art, I never clocked that, but from reading the description, it's like, okay. Like, not unbelievable, and twin siblings aren't always identical. It was just something not immediate to me. But to the redesign, I'm not breaking any new grounds here. It's just some water sports clothes with a sloppily put on funky Hawaiian-esque shirt, and that's everything I have to say about the outfit. She's the only character that forced me to draw feet, so I had to pull out the feet model for that. Yay, I guess. But I want to move on to the thing I found the most fun with her design, and with her earring and skates. Okay, so I don't know how many people will intrinsically understand this, but does anybody know of that thing where it's like glass or clear plastic and it's some blue liquid sloshing around in there, maybe a little ducky or a fish is floating in there? It was that era of design where everything was colorful plastic and you can see through to look at the wiring that I wanted to replicate. I tried combing through the aesthetics wiki to get something close. From the looks of it, it might be called Helvetica Aqua Aero, but I think there's some vaporwave energy mixed into it. But that was the thought behind her earrings and wildly impractical shoes. Like, at least the others covered the toes and had some ankle support. Neptune is putting a lot of faith into that strap. And I made them even more dangerous by lifting them up. But here she is. If you line her up against the other characters, her head is really high up, but that's just because her soul is thicker to show the weird water thing. Her first attempt was more of the same, and basically the last completed sketch we have. And yeah, that's it. She's our last technical planet. So Pluto's demotion to a dwarf planet happened during Lauren Faust's rumination, exploration, creation process of Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls, and it makes for this character blog post of Pluto being pissed about her demotion. Then she argues with Uranus about it, and Uranus points out that being a planet isn't a requirement to be part of the gang because Sun and Moon are also there. And here's my fun science fact / opinion. The IAU's definition of a planet is a bit bad. Like definition 1, needing to orbit a sun. The fuck are rogue planets or planets thrown out of orbit then? Now admittedly, the real reason is because we don't want school kids to memorize too many planets in the solar system, because if Pluto counts, then so does Eris and Ceres. Characters we'll see later. Hell, one of Pluto's moons is half its size. Would it make it a double planet system? I'm saying all this to burn up time because, as you can tell by now, Pluto went through an outfit change and then a pose change, plus all that time sketching and sort of designing a guitar for her. She has time to burn. The outfit swap was because the pants didn't feel goth enough. Like, it felt more punk goth compared to the black dress's more traditional goth feel, you know? The change in the pose was because I thought the first pose felt awkward and it covered a lot of her outfit. So yeah, her final outfit is just the spruced up version of her original design with more belts and accessories. She doesn't have a lot of colors in her look, like it's mostly black, grays, and whites. The only major pop of colors is her purple eyes and red lipstick, and I'm using that red as a major color crutch. I also felt like X was a fun shape to try and incorporate. Crossbones have X's, X over the eyes is death, and X plus 3 lines is also death. I've heard that when dealing with objects of the same color, you can differentiate by texture, so I was like, cool, maybe she has some leather-esque accessories, which means adding shine to them. Yippee! Listen y'all, I can just barely do shading, so I am fully bullshitting on how to add shine to a leather-like material, but I am willing to bullshit. Here you go. Be the judge of this lighting attempt, or not. Be nice, at least. And here's the bonus attempt. You can tell that I didn't really get far in the sketching phase before fully nuking this run and starting over. I was only like mostly done. Hooray! So I got pretty deep in this before redoing everything, but let's get to the rest of our bandmates. Alright, so getting into the last 3 redesigns, there's very material to work off of, and by that I mean characterization. When it comes to redesigns, it's usually redesigning a particular look. So Eris has 2 images of her, a color sketch and one with a final finished digital image with her drum set. Listen y'all, I want to try my best to draw the instruments, but you'll have to forgive me for not wanting to draw an entire drum set, alright? I am weak. Anyway, her design feels very rooted in the more old school British punk scene, but that might be because I made a deep association with red plaid and British punk, but it made for an easy redesign. I'll say the skirt is meant to be a square circle skirt. DIYing clothing and accessories feel very much in line with the punk fashions and attitudes. You know, cutting a circle into a square piece of fabric is one of the easiest things to do, very DIY. And hey, maybe the remnants went to making a tie. Past that though, her look is pretty similar to the original. Just like Pluto, I just added more metal accessories, and oh lord, why did I commit myself to drawing every stud on the vest and belt? But I think it turned out well. Here you go, the chaotic drummer. And are you ready for attempt 1? Here it is. It's the same thing because yeah, I restarted by Pluto. These are the only ones that have 1 attempt going into them. So, Ceres fun fact, this pose was originally meant for Pluto. You might be able to catch it if you saw the guitar's 3D model before I swapped it for a bass. Yeah, I just realized the energy of this pose was suited for someone more low-key, someone calmer. So technically Pluto went through 3 different poses. On that note, I mentioned that Pluto's pose was changed to show off more of her outfit, but Ceres' base is blocking most of her torso. Well, it's because there isn't too much of Ceres' design to show off. Like, she's the indie chick of the group, so her whole thing is going against the grain of society and whatnot. So her outfit is a blank white tee, black shorts, and a brown jacket. Not the most visually interesting set, so I thought it would be better if I focus on the things she did personalize. This isn't to say that she doesn't care about fashion. She still accessorizes and personalizes the thing that sets her apart from others. And if you haven't noticed, Ceres doesn't have a symbol. The dualistic explanation is that Faust hadn't thought of one yet, but Ceres is looking for one. I was thinking I would jokingly say I gave her a symbol, but you wouldn't be able to see it because her ears are behind her hair. But I realized that I've been including the symbols as the character's eye shine, so whoops to that idea. If you have any possible suggestions, put them in the comment, I guess. Not that I'm really gonna do anything with them, just curious what others would suggest. Also, Ceres is left-handed, but I think I accidentally gave her a right-handed base. Apparently it's possible to do that. I guess Ceres just isn't like the other bass players. Every series needs a tag-along kid, and I guess that's going to be Andromeda here. By the way, please ignore Milky Way faintly standing in the background like a stand. So we went from multiple artworks and a blurb to 2 artworks and a character blurb, and now we have 1 image. So yeah, as far as I was able to find, we don't get a definitive answer to Andromeda's personality other than she's Milky Way's younger sister. Any personality she might have is just assumed or made up. So I took the route of having Andromeda being a rambunctious child who really looks up to her older sister. So a lot of design elements are an emulation of her big sis, mixed with the eclectic styling of a child that would not stop putting stickers everywhere. I had thought about including pins of the different Galaxy Girls as possible souvenirs from Milky Way, but then I realized I didn't want to draw all that. Oops. But I did have my own fun with the bag. Past that, her redesign came along smoothly. It was mostly figuring out the proportions that gave me trouble, but I think I got away with it in the end. Here's her little redesign, and that about does it for all the characters that needed redesigns. Perhaps a bit anticlimactic, but sometimes it be like that. But wait, there's still the rest of the video. Well, I did say that the past 14 characters are the ones that could get redesigns. That's because there are just some characters that straight up need designs. So guess what I'm doing? That's right, time to design and draw 4 whole characters. Yippee! So the 4 characters I'll be giving a design to are Charon, Black Hole, Supernova, and Earth. Now all these characters have been mentioned at least once, but as far as I can tell, they never got full designs. There might be other characters that fall into this category, but I gotta draw the line somewhere. So let's get on with this bonus feature. Alright, so Charon was a character that was mentioned in a comment once by Faust in response to the possible characterization of Charon. The only thing that was mentioned was making Charon Pluto's annoying little sis who won't stop pestering Pluto, and that's about all we got. Because of this, I wasn't even planning on designing Charon, but I decided to after I realized that some of the other characters had even less to work with. I'm glad I did though, since Charon was a nice little warm-up to draw on the principles of what I sort of learned from redesigning the other characters. Since we already have a younger character who admires and emulates their older sister, I thought that Charon doesn't need to copy Pluto's style too much. When redesigning Charon, it was a mix of the moon and the mythological namesake, which lined up pretty well. From my googling, the most interesting thing I found on the moon was that it had water ice, unlike Pluto's methane ice. And Charon in mythology is the boatman for the dead, so my first thought was a sailor uniform, but like a more child sailor fuku. I didn't give her a symbol. Well, theoretically I could say her symbol is a circle in reference to Charon's oval. I added in Pluto's skull symbols, which was nice since the skull and crossbones also matched thematically with sailors because, you know, pirates. The last thing was her little instrument. Originally, I thought about drawing her with a violin case, but I didn't want to draw a violin case. But apparently I am willing to draw multiple keys instead of one less detailed violin case. It's called a melodica, and I feel like I only ever see children playing on the thing. and an anime. But that roughly sums up the design process for Charon. The colors were a bit hard to pick since I'm not very good at picking colors, and I'm definitely not good at picking saturated ones, but I hope she looks good in the end. Now, Black Hole is meant to be the main antagonist of the show. She was caged up before a little oopsie by Milky Way, which would have then pushed her to visit the solar system and reassemble Black Hole's cage, I think. And that's about all we have for Black Hole. We don't have a lot of information about her personality or possible design traits other than being a villain. So in designing Black Hole, I pulled on what I think of when I think of black holes and how I would anthropomorphize them. Then there's also the added challenge of not knowing what are Faust's design conventions for villains in this series. So after thinking long and hard on it, I came to the realization that I'm probably not gonna get it, so just try your best and we're just ballin'. I looked towards our hero Milky Way to find complementary elements, like how Milky Way's pose is very open with contained hair, while Black Hole's pose is very contained with hair that engulfs her. This leads pretty well to descriptors of like real black holes as small concentrated objects that swallow everything. But oh boy, I had such a hard time designing an outfit because bad guys don't have a defined style. After taking a long break looking at Sailor Moon villains and some glare, I settled on whatever this is. It's a mix of a bodysuit, figure skating outfit, and Mugler fashion, all lined with trailing stars. Listen man, I'm not a fashion designer, I don't know what I'm doing. Thankfully the color palette was pretty simple, it's mostly black, were we surprised? Plus some colors from the famous Black Hole image. So here's my version of Black Hole. Hopefully her design is nice and pleasing, or at least enjoyable, and you can read it as Black Hole. But we're gonna move on to the other villain. This character is Supernova, and she was a character that was mentioned once in a tweet reply. She's another bad girl for the series, and that's all we know. So we go back to the same design process as Black Hole, but this time I use Sun as a slight reference since they're both stars. I wanted to get back to this point, so we'll put a pin in it. I thought it'd be fun to work off some Sun stuff instead of Milky. A Supernova would be screaming into a microphone as like a more extreme version of a mic. The original idea was more akin to a Riot Girl, but that scene didn't feel like the right fit for this villain. But I still wanted this character to have a bold and loud design, so I slapped her in a vague military uniform. Compared with the difficulties of designing Black Hole's outfit, Supernova's came along super easy. It's gotta be easier when you know what to search for as a reference. It was the hair that was killing me, not because I didn't know what I wanted. It was always going to be a wild burst of hair. I was just having a hard time not making the ponytail look like shit, but I think I did okay. When you look up images of Supernova, it's always these explosion of colors, so you know, gotta slap that rainbow into her hair. The rest of her outfit is opulent enough, so it has a pretty simple color scheme of black, white, and yellow, also to contrast Black Hole's more black, blue, and white colors. But let's get back to the pin real quick. Will Sun become a supernova? Cause you know, that's what happens to big enough stars. Is this literally die young or see yourself become the villain? And why are Pluto and Charon sisters while Jupiter's moons are her pets? Is our moon and Earth related? This is all non-serious questions, but something I thought about when making and finishing these artworks, like this one. I was really unsure about her design until I colored in the eyes. I don't know why, but the eyes really complete the look for me. And finally, to the final girl. So Earth is pretty interesting. While the previous characters had a line of text, Earth has a pretty decent vault of information, but this is also because Earth's role within the series is slightly different. So on the Now Down Solar Sisterhood blog, Mother Earth would be the one making some or most of the posts. For all intents and purposes, Mother Earth was the character that Lauren Faust would speak through. But I'm not really here to remake Faust as Earth. Because of this, I'm going to cook up my own Earth design with a few facts from the blog. The biggest thing was not having Earth wear any skates. I try to find the right comment or post, but I feel like remembering something about how the other characters avoid Earth because she's infested with life. So Earth here is a bit more distant from the other girls, except maybe Moon and maybe Mars. And the easiest way for me to connect that idea was the lack of skates. Every girl in the solar system also has a passion, and I decided to make Earth's passion painting, which is also Mars's passion. So fuck it, I guess they're friends here. Her fashion is what can be called an art hoe, and I say this with affection as it's a look I can sometimes fall into. I'm just a sucker for overalls, man. Her color palette was easy in that I know I needed blue, green, and very hard in the fact that I don't know what shades of blue and green look good together. The yellow was there to add a warmer color to the mix, and I feel like this very specific shade of yellow is so prevalent in the art hoe fashion, but I'm not sure why. It's also been like 5 characters since they got their own symbol, and now I get to sort of create one. To me, the obvious answer for Earth's symbol would be a leaf. Her earring was fun, it's meant to look like a trailing vine, but honestly that's all I have to say about Earth's design. I had a lot of fun making it. Honestly, she's probably my favorite design of the entire project, but I might be a little bit narcissistic as it's a character I fully designed and I put in clothes that I like to wear, but you know, I'm just happy with her look. So yeah, we're at the end of the video after 18 character designs. This is a long time coming, not to mention how insanely busy I was and still currently am. Plus starting over after getting more than halfway through it, it's been a lot. To be honest, I thought about trashing this video project multiple times, but I'm glad I stuck through it. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. What was your favorite character design or redesign? I need to fill some time, man. I'm really happy with Milky Way and Earth, you know, picking the beginning and end as faves. There's also Black Hole and Supernova where I like their designs, but I don't think they would fit within the theoretical show. Or who knows, they could be completely possible. We don't know the design convention for the villains. But it was fun designing them. I want to try this art style again, but with more head shapes. If it wasn't super obvious with how each head was just a preset stamp I used. But that's about it for this time. Maybe my next video will be out soon, or it won't be. Hopefully it'll be a smaller video. I need to stop doing so many batch redesigns. I am going to pass away. But whatever. Until next time, bye y'all.